And as a Procter Gallagher consultant, I joined their mission to basically improve the quality of lives globally by improving the quality of thoughts individually. Because eventually it is the quality of our thoughts that determines the quality of our life. And there's two things in this world that we really want to develop understanding in. And these two things is the working of mind to body and the working of the natural laws of the universe. The mind body connection is something we can influence. We can influence what we do through our body, the results that we experience in our body, in our physical lives, by influencing our mind. Our body is basically an instrument of the mind. But something that I want to dive into with you over the coming weeks is something that is known of as the natural laws of this universe, also called the universal laws. And there is many man-made laws, and there's a few laws made by nature, made by the universe, made by our creator. Some people might call it God, other people might call it Allah. Some people call it energy. It depends on whether you ask a scientist or whether you ask a theologian. The scientist would call it energy, the theologian would call it God. Doesn't really matter what name you give it. But all these man made laws, they might be just, they might be right, but a lot of them might be unjust and might be unright and might not work in your favor. There's a few universal laws that once we start to understand those, they're not man made. These universal laws, they work always, everywhere, all the time. You've got the law of rhythm. After day comes night, after night comes day. The tide comes in, the tide goes out. This is not something that we can influence. This is something that happens. These are natural laws of the universe. We've got the law of polarity. Without a right side to something, there is no left side. Without an inside, if there were not an inside to this room, there would not be an outside to this room. Without hot, there is no cold. Without yin, there is no yang. Without positive, there would be no negative. Once we start to understand these natural laws of this universe, we can basically align ourselves with them. We can align our goals, our dreams, our desires with the natural laws of this universe. So we've got, for example, the law of gender. Everything has a masculine and everything has a feminine in it. The law of gender also states that every seed has an ingestation or incubation period. And most of the physical seeds of this world, by now we have figured out the gestation or incubation period. For example, the seed of a carrot, 71, 72 days, and the seed of a carrot becomes a carrot. The seed of a baby, a human being, starts as a seed and an egg. That seed that grows in about 9 months to a baby, and there is another human being. We figured out most of the physical seeds in this world, the gestation or the incubation period. What we must understand, for example, is that an idea is a spiritual seed. And you've probably heard that which you give attention to, that is what will grow. Where focus goes, energy flows. So when you give your energy, your concentration, your focus to an idea, aka a spiritual seed, it will grow into physical reality through the same lawful process as the seed of a carrot grows to a carrot. When you and I learn to live by, learn to understand these natural laws of the universe, we learn to understand and we start to realize that nothing in this world happens by accidents. Luck, a miracle. I think it was Voltaire who said, a miracle is a word we invented to describe known effects of unknown causes. Think about that. Nothing in this universe happens by accident. Everything happens by a reason. Once we start to realize that, we know that we are responsible for the quality of our lives. We are responsible in whatever way to whatever happens. And you might think, but I'm not responsible for this disease that happened to me. I'm not responsible for the person um, dying in a car accident. I'm not responsible for the tsunami hit the coast. But what is responsibility really? Responsibility really is your ability to respond. Things happen in this universe, and it is your ability to respond to whatever happens that determines the quality of your life. Viktor Frankl, a Jewish psychiatrist who went through the concentration camps, Auschwitz, and he survived horrendous acts. But what he realized was that there's one ultimate freedom that that we all have in life, and that is we always, no matter what happens, the physical, the mental atrocities that are done onto us, we still have the freedom to decide what we think about it. And that is the ultimate human freedom. Based upon what happens around you, how do you respond? How do you respond to when tsunami hits the coast? You survive, or you're in a whole different country. How do you respond? Do you respond in compassion? Do you ignore it? Do you start working in some sort of voluntary philanthropy position to be of assistance? It is our ability to respond. How do we respond to what happens? When we react to whatever happens in the outer world, we are basically a play ball of circumstances. We bounce from left to right based upon what happens in our circumstances. So many people say their circumstances determine what they're able to do or not able to do in life. They make their decisions based upon their circumstances. Napoleon stated, circumstances, I make them. Abraham Maslow said, the people who get on in this world look at the circumstances they want, look for the circumstances they want, and if they can't find them, they make them. And you only make them by your ability to respond to what happens. Some things you do, some things you decide you don't do. That's your responsibility. But you also are responsible for how you respond to what is done onto you. And once you realize this and you become aware of the lawful process continuously happening around you, all these natural laws of the universe that I want to dive deeper into throughout the coming weeks, they can truly help you step into a more harmonious process, the creative process of life. When you think about it, everything in this world is part of the creative process. Everything in this world either grows or dies. When you look at a tree, the tree is either growing up until its fullest capability, or when it has surpassed that or something happens to it, it starts dying. This happens with animals, this happens with plants, this happens with human beings, this happens with everything. Everything either grows or dies. Creates, you create or you disintegrate. And that's also part of the law of polarity. All these different parts, when you become aware of it, it will help you step into the harmonious process of creativity. You become a creative being. And that is, in essence, what we all are. Um, Basically, what I want to convey here today is we are all ignorant about many different things, as Bob Proctor stated, and I can state as well. I'm very ignorant about how to bake a cake or about how to repair a car. I'm okay with that. I'm not planning to become an amazing cake baker or a car mechanic. So, in life, we are all ignorant about certain things. But there is a few things that nobody should want to be ignorant about. It's okay to not know certain things that you don't need for the things that you want to experience in your life. But the quality of our lives eventually is determined by our understanding of who we are. When you truly understand who you are, when I truly understand who I am, I start to understand who you are as well. Because our results might be different, but in essence, we're all the same. We're all a molecular structure in a high state of vibration. So we all want to understand, how does the mind work? How does the body work as an instrument of the mind? How does this lawful process work? If we now realize, if we start to learn, if we start to realize that nothing in this universe happens by accident, everything happens by law, not man-made laws, but laws of this universe. What we can then do is become creative instead of reactive. And once we become creative instead of reactive, we can purposely, deliberately start to create the results that we really want. If you want to really dive deeper and be held by the hand by throughout this process by somebody who is certified for teaching material that is tested and proven throughout, say, the past 150 years. Like, at first it was Napoleon Hill who stated, if you can tell me what you want, I can show you how you get it. Then Earl Nightingale said it. Then it was Bob Proctor. If you can tell me what you want, I can show you how to get it. Look at the lineage. This material is based upon study of the most successful people in the world in all different areas of life. Because let's be straight up, somebody who is financially free, has a lot of money, but is unhappy in his or her relationship, that's not success. If you want a happy, joyful relationship as well, then you're not successful. What is the success really? I really enjoy, I really love, and it resonates with me, the definition that Earl Nightingale stated. for success. Success is the progressive realization of a worthy ideal. And as James Allen taught us, an ideal is an idea that we've fallen in love with. So, the progressive realization of a worthy ideal. What is your worthy ideal? Is it financial freedom? Is it a joyful relationship? Is it vibrant health, vitality? What is your worthy ideal? What is the idea that when you fall in love with it and it becomes a desire and you start moving towards that, you can be defined as that successful human being? That is something that I, through a tested and proven process, help people realize. And then, how do I turn that into physical reality? Not through force, but simply through the creative process, through the lawful process. By understanding how this mind-body connection works and putting it in alignment with what it is that you really want the most to live your best life. Thank you very much. My name is Anton Benning, and I hope to see you soon.